And joining me today is the devil in the details. It's Jamie Dornan, who plays serial killer Paul Spector on The Fall. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
How are you doing?
Pretty good, yeah.
Do you like being called devil in the details? That was like one of my favorite lines. I think it was the first season.
That is a good, that works. Yeah.
That works?
Yeah, that's right. Jillian says it in the first season. That's right, that's right, yeah.
Well, before we start, I just want to let you know we had an onslaught of Twitter questions come in over the weekend, and we likely won't get to everyone. There was a lot. So if you could just read everyone's name. I'm totally kidding.
I would have done it,
You would have done
I'm a
it.
team player.
If you want to send a message just saying thank you for the questions, they were a lot, and we can't get to everyone. If you have any message to the fans.
Thank you for the questions.
They want you to come back on Twitter, just FYI. No. We understand. I just talked to Kyle Chandler, and he said the same thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah, it gets a bit hectic.
Yeah. So, I mean, The Fall, you play... How would you describe Paul Spector? I want to hear your description of Paul Spector. How do you view him?
He's a monster.
He's a monster.
I think he's, deeply troubled by events that have happened to him when he's young that have shaped the way he is. I think that there's aspects to him that were already ingrained that make him behave the way he does. I always argue that Alan Cubitt, who created it, he's sort of incapable of love and feels no empathy. And I would agree about the empathy part, but I don't know. I think he loves, particularly his daughter. I do think there is something there that's maybe not everyone's version of love, but it is as close to love as he can muster. I think he certainly cares for her very much. So I felt it really important to have those moments when he was being a father or being a husband, play them as sincere as I could, so that I guess you don't want, the other stuff is there, the heinous, murdering and all the awful stuff is there. So I think that's going to offset the family stuff enough just by the proximity of the two. So I've always felt that I wanted it to be when I was with the kids, I was just trying to be the best father I could be. When I was with my wife, I was trying to be the best husband I could be. But then the story does a lot of the work for you, where you're like, oh, he's obviously not that good a father and obviously not that good a husband.
Right. And mentally, when you were in those scenes where you're being the good father, did you keep in mind that he does these other things, or do you not keep that in mind when you're doing it? No,
I tried to totally separate it, because I just thought it would be far more believable and real if you don't carry that with you. If you just be as in that moment, like I am trying to be a good father in that moment, and then not let the other side creep in. Yeah.
Well, in this past season, we sort of get more of the backstory and some of his, details about the terrible childhood he had. And was that important for you to have the audience learn some of that versus you just maybe knowing it yourself?
Yeah, it's true, because I guess you come across people and in between series 1 and series 2 coming out, and they're like, why is this guy so horrible? And because
did anyone say he was a great guy? No.
You'd really have to question the person that's saying, is it? I think he's a great guy, considering what he's up to. But no, look, there's that time in between, where they're I guess the first series is so much about the act. You see him in the act so often, and well, not so often. It's actually only one murder and one attempted murder. And then I was always aware, from knowing the character and talking to Alan, and roughly why he was the way he was. So it was this thing of the second series not really being able to tell anyone, and but we got to eventually, obviously, with series 2. So
And how about, did you feel sort of like you couldn't fully get to know him, given that it's 5 episodes and then 6 episodes, or did you feel okay with the amount of time?
Yeah, no, I felt the thing is, when Alan first came to BBC and said, this is what I have. I want to make it. He said he wanted 12 episodes. And they were like, yeah, okay, we'll give you 5.
Right.
So, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, presented with this position of like trying to get as much into 5 as possible, but leave it open-ended with the idea that we would get an opportunity to do more. And we sort of felt that we would, and we pinned a lot on the hope that we would, because it would have been, if the first season ended like that and there was no more, I would have been pretty frustrated as a viewer. So 11 episodes so far. That's what's great about television. You get the chance to like tell your story over a long period of time. So I always felt pretty comfortable with that, because I always knew Alan and I talk a lot about where it's going to go and how we're going to pad it out, and so I always felt pretty good about all that.
How does it feel to know that Madonna binge watches your show?
I didn't know Madonna binge.
Yeah, she said in an interview.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't read all her interviews.
She binge watches True Detective and The Fall.
Oh, really?
Those are her 2 shows, she said.
That's good company.
So you could add that to your resume.
Yeah, I'll probably start putting that in my CV. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool, yeah. It's not, I mean, that's a lovely thing, because I feel that like The Fall is one of those shows where like a lot of people I admire happen to like it, and I've had some pretty mad experiences being in LA or whatever, and like people I'm huge fans of, other actors and directors and producers, and they come up to you and they say they love the show and they love your work, and it's little moments like that are so, you sort of live for in a way, like it's in terms of the work, like it's amazing. Yeah.
Well, and how about his progression into season 2? Were you sort of, you I guess you sort of knew where he was going in terms of he would eventually get caught. But did you hope it would come maybe a little bit later, or did it come at the right moment?
I think it came at the right moment. I mean, towards the end of the first series, he slips up a little bit. He doesn't, he's someone who prides himself on being so clinical and so, astute in what he's trying to achieve, and he feels that he doesn't leave any stone unturned, and he's like in control of it. I mean, the thing about these guys, it's like there's some like group of like guys,
little boy bands, boy connoisseurs.
They're like guys who are, there seems to be a bit of a pattern with serial killers where they have just unparalleled confidence and like God complex, and they think that they're invincible and they can't do any wrong and they won't get caught, and so I think that was a big element of Spectre. And
do you think he wanted to get caught?
No, I don't. No, but I do. No, I don't think he wanted to get caught. No, but I do feel that even when he is caught, there's an element of him still, in some warped way, thinking he'll like get away with it, or be able to get out of it, because just the arrogance of these guys is unbelievable. But I liked it because it takes, I think with every season of anything, you have to, you can't just regurgitate what it is you did the season before, and you've got to develop it and move the story on. So I loved, it was a totally different vibe and experience to what I'd done in the first series when I was in custody, and suddenly you get the, all the stuff, the great stuff I get to do while, incarcerated, and I loved all that.
Well, and I like that the arrest doesn't happen as sort of the season finale cliffhanger, it's like another episode, and this isn't how we're leaving you hanging.
Yeah.
But you do have that episode that comes after the finale. Yeah. And it's, I don't think there's any spoilers here. I think everyone tuning in is a Jamie Dornan fan is up to speed. But you get shot, and Stella's holding you in her arms. Yep. And we had one person, now I lost it, but was asking about that scene and shooting that scene and the, the emotions behind it. And I also wanted to jump on that and just what sort of direction were you given in terms of how you're supposed to look at Stella? What's the, what are you supposed to achieve with that look?
Well, a lot. Yeah. There was kind of a lot going on. What is lovely about this job is that it's a lovely job anyway. We're such a tight little family. We've been doing this for a few years, and we're all so close. And Alan, the creator, he directed the second series, So by this stage, you know, by the time we shot that, which was right at the end of the process of filming the second series, we have such a shorthand with each other and such an understanding. And actually, a lot of time, Alan, for Gillian and I particularly, and really for all the cast, he's got so much faith in us by this point that he will kind of let us do what we think is right. And if he doesn't think it's right, he'll certainly come in and say, "What are you doing?" And we'll change it up. But he just sort of let that happen, and I had ideas that I talked to him about, where I wanted to sort of convey a variety of things. I obviously am in pain because I've been shot, but again, the sort of the strength and the arrogance of someone like Spectre, and the calmness that he usually has, and which he has his moments, I sort of felt that he'd be kind of at peace with the pain, you know. And so I wanted to use that a little bit. I also, I mean, this whole cat and mouse thing that Spectre and Gibson have had, and suddenly all she wants to do is catch this guy.
Yeah.
And I think he's fascinated by her, and he's sort of in love with her in a weird kind of warped way. And there she has him in her arms, and it's not what she would have wanted, and it's not what he would have wanted. But so I was trying to convey lots of things about sort of, in a way, I kind of look at it at one point to like, almost like the way you look at someone before you like kiss them or something, you know what I mean? Like that kind of like loving thing. I wanted there to be an element of that.
Well, that's kind of what I thought was going to happen. I was like, oh.
Yeah, that would be really something. That would be like, you just leant in and started kissing. That would be, we didn't even do an alternate ending. No.
How about having these scenes finally with Gillian with a little bit more intimacy there? Yeah. Like, you talk a little bit about working with her and finally getting that chance.
Yeah, well, look, I'm a massive Gillian Anderson fan, you know, and always have been. And I respect her so much as an actress, as a person. She's such a brilliant person. And, you know, there's so many, you could always tell the people who haven't seen The Fall, like, because, you know, people talk about it, whatever, and then I like have meetings and stuff where they go like, I loved you in The Fall, and oh, thanks, that's very kind. Like, what was it like working with Gillian? This is after the first series. I was like,
I don't know.
No idea. Like, I met her. We have like one fleeting moment in the corridor of the police station, and I was like, all right, you haven't seen it, okay. But so many people do say that, you know, what's she like, and I was sort of itching to actually get some screen time with her. So with the second series, and then finally get arrested, and we get that. You know, we said the phone call at the end of the first series, but it's a different thing. We weren't there for each other and stuff. And what a scene to really have, you know, the sort of 20-minute, I think it runs 20 minutes. I mean, if you're gagging to have a scene with someone and then you get 20 minutes of just back and forth dialogue and that well written, it was such a treat. And we did them all in one take.
I was going to say, do you do it in increments or in one take?
We did them all in one take. Must have done it about 6 different, we probably ran them about 8 times each, so like 16 times we probably ran the scene. And they were running, obviously with an edit and stuff, they were running at 24 minutes or something when we were doing them. That's a long time for the crew to be like, they can't do anything.
Don't breathe,
So it was a big ask for the crew, but they were all amazing, and I loved it. It was my favorite day I've ever had filming.
Are there chances for bloopers, or not really on a show like this?
Yeah, there are. Honestly, there are, because I am someone who, I'm not method at all. I
hope not with this character.
No, exactly the thing. Yeah, I know. Yeah, good point. Yeah, I would be arrested if I was in any way method. But in saying that, with the first series, I did do a couple of things to try to get inside on the Tube, which is our underground system in London. I did.
What?
Can you get arrested for this? Hold on.
What? Were you lurking? Stalking? Oh my God! Tell me.
Oh
my God!
This is really bad reveal. I followed a woman off the train one day to see what it felt like to pursue someone like that. I really kept my distance, and I was aware. Yeah. It was kind of half-hearted because I was going like, what am I like? If she turns around, is she going to notice?
How long did that last?
Not long. I mean, she got off a few stops earlier than I was planning, so I was like, I have to commit to this here. Yeah. So, and then I followed her like around a couple of street corners, and then I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like,
did it feel weird to enter that mindset?
It felt kind of like exciting in a really like sort of dirty way, and I'm sort of not proud of myself. But I do honestly think I learned something from it. Just because I have obviously never done anything like that in my life. So it was intriguing and interesting to sort of enter that process of like, and what are you following her for, and what are you trying to find out? And so it was interesting, but no, I actually try to have a lot of fun on set, and I don't think it's healthy to stay in the headspace of someone who is as evil as he is. So yeah, we have a lot of fun. I mean, a lot of fun on that set, and it was basically a massive group of Irish people. There are a few different. For the most part, it's a 95% Irish people, which is great. Fun.
Yeah.
And so no, we have fun. There actually is a blooper reel that is yeah.
It should be interesting.
I don't think you'll ever see it.
I know, probably won't.
Maybe it's on DVD. It's probably not. Yeah, no, it's probably not. It's funny though.
Well, and you obviously must have done research in the first season, reading stuff. Did you continue the research process into season 2, or did you think you had enough?
I felt like I wrote a lot of material. I didn't write some, because he obviously writes a lot of stuff and keeps his journals, and so I tried some stuff based on that. But no, I read a lot of really kind of tough books on inside the mind of serial killers, and to try to get my head around what is it that drives these guys. And there's so many common links between guys who end up being multiple murderers. There's freaky ones that sort of crop up, like cruelty to animals when they're young, and arson, an interest in arson, and bedwetting to a late age. They're the 3 main things that crop up, but with a lot of these guys, and you trace it back, and they've all had these same characteristics. So I found some very interesting stuff. But the second series, I felt like I had a good, because you find out that stuff on a general scale for like serial killer, but then you've got to specify it to the character and to Spectre. So once I felt I felt like I was in a good place within the second series to it's not like I didn't keep reading stuff, but like the main bulk of it, I felt that I'd done the work already. Yeah.
Well, we got a lot of reader comments wanting to know what your thoughts were about the Paul and Katie relationship, because it's a very twisted one.
It is.
And I don't know how that was for you going into it, it must have been a little freaky to sort of justify in any way in his mind, and then you had to act it. But talk a little bit about it.
Well, I mean, like in terms of the story alone, like he needs her, and he needs her to cooperate and be on his side, and he's using her. He's like master manipulator, and she is infatuated with him. She is like, love struck, and he needs her for the reasons he needs her, and she needs him because she just thinks she needs him, and it's so exciting to her. Not easy to film that kind of stuff, and it's not the first thing in this show that has made me uncomfortable to film. But the good thing we have on our side is that Aisling, who plays Katie, she's not 15, 16. She's like 23, I think, or something. She just looks young. So, and we're very comfortable with each other. We've known each other now, obviously, for a few years, and we have big respect for each other. So that helps. I think if it was an actual 16-year-old actress, I'd be like,
that'd be cause for
this
pause.
Isn't cool.
No. Well, talk some more about the scenes that give you pause, because seeing the scenes of you strangling or tying up these women, I mean, just watching it's uncomfortable. How is it for you to sort of be in that moment, that space of acting these scenes out?
Yeah, man. I mean, you find out a lot about what you're yourself, I think, in these situations, and like, but as an actor and how you want to approach things, and for me, I would just have to try to be as myself as possible until right in the final minute, and be trying to be lighthearted and get someone to make me laugh, or trying to make someone else laugh, and just like until right, and then I need a second, and I need to get my head into the space. But I just couldn't stay in it the whole time, and I understand actors who do that, and each to their own, and everyone has a different way of approaching it. But for me, I just, because it's difficult enough, and there's times, I think the hardest thing, I think, was the first series when I'm like bathing Sarah Kay's dead body. And I had a real moment. Actually, that day I was flying back to London from Belfast, and we were really tight for time, and it'd always been the plan that I'd get off by like 2:00, and my flight was at like 3:10, and it was sort of like 2:15, and I was just like still holding this, well, not, her name's Laura Donnelly, it wasn't Corpse, it's a lovely actress, but I was holding her like, dead weighted body, and I was painting her nails, and I was just going like, and my head was all over the place, because I was like, I kind of need to make that flight, but I'm also doing something really sinister, but I want to do it well, and I want to be, so that was a sort of weird moment, and difficult scene to film, because there's so much stuff that I think, because you're doing it, it's in the moment, you're totally aware of what it is and how dark it is and everything, but the action is keeping you in it, and you are just focused on it, and it's work, and then sometimes that's how you feel, and then it's only when you see the end result, and you're like, wow, that's a hard thing to watch, and especially when you see it. What I think so brilliant about the show and the way it's written and crafted is you see that in the proximity to like his kids and his wife and being a family man, and that's horrible,
For you as a father, when you have those scenes where you're in your daughter's room putting the stuff away, or when now I'm forgetting the name, but someone else's daughter sort of catches you doing something, but just knowing that a little kid is seeing you do these sorts of acts and not really knowing fully, because they're still naive and innocent what's happening, but it's a weird thing.
That does admit it's rough. It's rough. I mean, it's mad, because in the first series I wasn't the father yet. By the time we finished the second series, or started the second series, I was. And you're eternally changed by having a baby. So actually Alan, our creator, was like, when I said we were pregnant and we're having a baby and stuff, obviously he was delighted, but he was worried that it would like soften me. He was like, especially we had a little girl, so he was like, I think he was worried that he was like, I couldn't, because you literally you're changed totally, emotionally, and you almost like physically as the guy after you have a baby. So he was like, he didn't think I'd be able to carry the same kind of menace and stuff. I'd be too soft after having a kid, and I was like, no, it's fine. It's fine. I've got
because it's like hard not to be, because it's like you imagine one of these women being your daughter or something.
I know. Don't even make me
I know, but
it's terrible.
I know. It's a weird thing. But let's take some questions from viewers. Okay. Jess wants to know how you see Paul's relationship with Stella. We sort of touched on it earlier, but
I mean, I think he has a respect for her, and he's an intrigue about her. In the first series, when they have that phone call, he says that he thinks they're very alike. They're both very driven and everything, and she obviously totally disagrees. But I think she's fascinated by him beyond any other case she's ever had. So, I mean, some people look into that as if there's something going on with, are they actually in love with each other, or what the idea of each other. I don't know about that, but they're definitely, they both think they have an understanding of each other beyond, a normal sort of police officer, criminal relationship.
Okay. And this is the weird Twitter handle, so I can't even say it, but as an actor, is it emotionally draining to play sociopaths like Paul? And did you find any sort of like overlap in terms of the mind space of then playing someone like Christian, or?
No, not really. No, I've always tried to keep them very separate, and I think they're both broken individuals, and had pretty awful things happen to them early on in their lives that has shaped the way they are. But beyond that, I wouldn't make any parallels really. Yeah, it takes its toll. You know, I've said this before in interviews that like I feel somewhat altered and maybe scarred a little from playing Spectre, because you discover a lot about yourself, and it unearths maybe negative things that you have deep within you, or loss that you've experienced personally. All trudges up because you use it for work, and is that healthy to keep doing that day after day? Probably not, and I think it does take its toll. And you know, I consider myself a fairly light-hearted guy, and I like to have fun, and I'm not saying that isn't still the case, but I you know, I can slip into melancholy probably with greater ease, having played someone like Spectre than I could before. So yeah, definitely you wear it. Definitely, yeah.
Everyone was sort of asking too when we're going to see you maybe in something lighthearted, like a comedy.
But I dying to do something like that. I'm very happy to be in a position where I'm working and I'm playing great characters and really interesting guys who are very complex and dark, and I love that, and I'll continue to seek that out on some level. But you know, I'm an actor. You want to do different stuff. You want to be pushed and tested and tried, and I can say, you know, I'm closer to someone who, you know, I'm just, you know, like it's, you don't want to just play psychopaths and sociopaths your whole career, you know. So yeah, I will endeavor to try to end up in something a little bit lighter.
A little bit lighter.
Yeah, it wouldn't be hard to go lighter from the fall. You know, anything really is lighter. So yeah, definitely trying.
Was there a scene from this past season that sort of was hard for you to do, or that stayed with you longer than you wished it would have?
I struggled based on the fact that I'm now, you know, I have a daughter. We have a daughter. The scene where essentially she's saying goodbye to me in some realm where Olivia, my daughter, in the show comes and I tell her that, you know, the greatest thing in my life has been watching her grow up, and I've heard her say that she wants to be, you know, a pilot and all this stuff, and I mean, that was breaking my heart every time we had to do it, you know, because she's like the sweetest little girl in the world as well, and you start to see your own daughter in her, even though she's young, and so that was tough. I think anything with the kids, especially after becoming a father, is tough. Yeah.
And do you find that you have to be careful about the way you talk about a show like this or a guy like this and the things that he does, the violence against women? Do you have to be careful about not making sort of light of it?
Yeah, definitely, because, you know, I'm a feminist at heart, and I'm aware that I'm totally aware of why there are people who have big issue with a show like this and the kind of content. But I mean, he's having to make this argument all the time, but Alan is a definite feminist, and I can see why people have an argument against that. But I think if you consider a character like Stella Gibson, and I mean, she's sort of the ultimate in that, in what feminist represents, and she is at the, you know, the center of this show the whole way through. So yeah, I mean, look, I try not to make light of it ever. I mean, we're dealing with murder of innocent women. You know, that's like, you know, that's not a fun. It's not a fun thing. No.
What's like sort of the common reaction you get about the show?
Yeah, I think people like it. You know, I think it's done well, and I think people expect me to be a pretty creepy guy.
Yeah. Do they say like it's sort of hard to know if, like, because I think people are sort of programmed to root for the sort of leading guy, and this is not someone.
Yeah, but that is true. Like, some people were like, you know, they want you to get away with it.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's sort of crazy considering what you've witnessed him do. But I have had lots of people say that you're kind of rooting for him, which I find strange. But then it makes me think that like the human aspects of him, like his as a father, as a husband, as a professional, or we've achieved the telling of those well enough that people can relate to him on some level, which is what you're trying to do. But people expect me to be, but I'm guilty of it as well. There's guys I see and women I see actors who play dark characters, and they're probably really like messed up people, but of course they're not. Like they're just actors.
Right. We have another question from Brew wanting to know, what do you have in common with Paul?
Oh God. Hopefully nothing.
I feel like we need a journal entry on this.
Though I know, beard, hair, legs. I look at nothing. I mean, I honestly can't draw any parallels between me and him. I'm glad to say I don't think I have anything in common with him.
Interesting.
No.
There has to be one thing.
I mean, I always like to think that there's something some kind of parallel you can find within every character you play, but I struggle with him to make anything in his mind right within my mind. I don't think. I think I'd be worrying myself if I was going, with this. Like, no, we're not anything alike.
And Paula wants to know, what is the best and worst part about playing Paul Spector?
I mean, the worst part is like just the
obvious.
It's like having to, treat women that way, and the obvious basically. Also the running. I mean, a lot of running.
You do a lot of running.
I know, and I'm not. When we did the first series, I was fit. I was doing a lot of running myself, and I found it quite not easy because we did a lot of it, but like it was within my comfort zone. But the second series I was so lax, and luckily there's not as much running in the second series, but there's a bit, and I just not that fit anymore, and I haven't been doing a lot of cardio, so I was really like struggling. It was like take after take, and I was like, please stop! I can't. I've got one more in me, maybe. I'm really lagging. I'm really like dragging my body by the end. No, there's somewhere I'm like, I look like I'm about to keel over. But no, and I loved it. I quite a lot of energy a lot of the time, quite hyper. So as much as the running was tough, I loved actually in the first series having to do like a lot of like climbing up the scaffolding. When you consider what I'm trying to get into the house to do, it's maybe not so not so fun.
Not so fun.
But I kind of loved the whole like swinging around like such a kid like that. So.
And when do you start on the third season?
Just before Christmas, I think is the plan. Yeah, shoot either side of Christmas.
Did you get any calls or texts from anyone on the crew saying that they saw 50 Shades?
Yeah.
Or saw too much of you in 50 Shades?
Yeah, all of the above.
All of the above?
Yeah, everyone's pretty supportive. I mean, I'm sure there's lots of them didn't see it because, they don't want to see me like that. And I totally understand that. So, a few.
A few?
Yeah, a few.
We're still wanting to know if Melanie Griffith finally saw it.
No idea. You have to ask Melanie Griffith.
I'll wait till Dakota's here.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Jamie, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks.
And to the fans out there tuning in, I'm sorry we couldn't get to everyone's questions, but we tried. I'll try to read some of the tweets to Jamie later, maybe.
Do that. Yeah, sorry about that.
But thanks so much for tuning in. Check back here for more chats.